2 words ended my marriage. Not, I'm leaving. Not, I hate you. Not some long speech he'd been rehearsing in the car on the way home. Just, miss you, and here's what I need you to understand before I tell you the rest. He didn't send those words to me, but the moment I found them, I used 2 words right back, and those 2 words cost him everything. It was the kind of Tuesday where the kids were upstairs, the microwave was beeping with leftover pasta nobody had touched, and absolutely nothing was supposed to happen. You know that feeling, the regular, boring evening that you're just trying to get through. That was me. I thought I had a solid marriage, 18 years, 2 kids, a house we'd scraped and saved for. Ryan and I weren't a fairy tale couple. We were better than that. We were real. We'd done couples therapy. We talked about hard things. I genuinely believed we had built something that lasted. I was wrong about that. And within 72 hours of that Tuesday, Ryan would be packing a bag. And within 2 weeks, he would lose the one thing he spent his entire career protecting because I decided to stop being careful. Ryan had gone to bed early that night. Headache, he said. I was downstairs watching TV when his phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. I wasn't snooping. I reached over to move it back from the edge before it fell, and the screen lit up. 2 words. Miss you. No name. Just a contact saved as DI work. My whole body went still. That cold, quiet knowing that every woman understands, not panic yet, just the stomach drop. I stood there holding his phone for 30 seconds, then placed it back exactly where it was. I didn't go upstairs. I didn't cry. I didn't shake. I sat back down on the couch in the dark, and I thought, here's something about me most people don't know. I spent 7 years as a paralegal before our youngest was born, and the first thing you learn in that job, don't move until you have everything. By midnight, I had opened his cloud backup on the laptop he'd left on the kitchen table. By 12:30, I had a name. D-work was Dana, and Dana was not a coworker. Dana was a woman Ryan had gone to college with, someone he'd told me years ago he'd completely lost touch with. I found receipts to a restaurant in a city I'd never been to. I found an Airbnb confirmation in Denver for a weekend he told me was a solo work trip. I found a message thread that went back 14 months and made absolutely clear this wasn't just an emotional affair that hadn't crossed any lines. 14 months. I closed every tab, powered down the laptop, walked upstairs, got into bed next to my husband, and closed my eyes. I didn't sleep, but I needed him to think I had. The next morning felt like a performance I hadn't rehearsed for. Ryan came downstairs and made coffee, same as always, poured me a cup without asking, same as always, kissed me on the cheek on his way out the door. I stood at the kitchen window and watched his car back out of the driveway, and I thought, how long would he have kept doing this? That question was what hardened something in me. Not rage, not tears, just cold, clear purpose. I called my sister, told her everything. She said, confront him tonight. I said no, I had one shot at this and I was not going to blow it by moving before I was ready. Then I called a lawyer. I want to tell you about the moment I sat across from her in her office, because it's the moment everything changed. I'd brought a folder, printed screenshots, the Airbnb confirmation, a 3-page timeline I'd built the night before while Ryan slept 6 feet away from me. She flipped through it without saying a word. Then she looked up and said, "You've done this before." I said, "Paralegal, 7 years." She nodded. Then she said, "Let me ask you something. 3 years ago, did you loan your husband money? A personal loan?" My stomach did something strange because here's what I had almost forgotten. 3 years ago, when Ryan's company hit a rough patch, I had quietly taken out a second mortgage on my parents' house, my name only, and loaned him the cash to keep the business from going under. We had a signed agreement. He knew about the loan. What he apparently forgot was the repayment clause, personally guaranteed, immediately callable if we divorced before it was repaid. The lawyer pulled it up in about 4 minutes. She looked at me and said, "You have significant leverage here." I said, "I know. What I need to know is how to use it. I want to be honest about what those 11 days were like, because they weren't easy. I'm not going to pretend I was some ice-cold robot who felt nothing. There was a Tuesday, day 7, where Ryan made dinner. He made the chicken thing his mom taught me how to make, the one I always make for him. He put music on, he poured me wine, and I sat across from him at our kitchen table, with a manila folder in the back of my closet behind my winter coats, an inch thick by then, and I smiled. I laughed at something he said, and later that night I went into the bathroom, ran the tap so he couldn't hear, and held onto the sink for about 3 minutes while I told myself to hold it together. I held it together. Every day. I added something to that folder. By day 11, I had everything. I made dinner the night I did it. His favorite, the chicken. After the kids went upstairs, I put the folder on the table in front of him and sat down. He looked at it, then at me. What is this? Not even a question. A statement. Open it. He turned the first page, then the second. I watched his face go through 3 different expressions in about 10 seconds. Confusion, recognition, and then something I'd never seen from him before. A kind of trapped stillness, like an animal that knows it's caught but hasn't decided which way to run. The Airbnb is on page 3, I said. The Denver receipts are on page 5. The loan documentation is on page 7. My lawyer's number is on page 8. He didn't speak. Ryan, how long have you known? 11 days. He closed the folder, put both hands flat on the table. I can explain. You don't need to. I kept my voice completely even. I already know everything. What I need you to do right now is listen. He listened. I told him what I wanted. A clean divorce. Fair split. Nothing ugly. Nothing public. Nothing that drags the kids through a war. And the loan repaid on a structured schedule. His accountant had already confirmed it was workable. Or I filed in court by Monday, and the full balance became immediately due. Silence. How did you know about the repayment clause? 7 years as a paralegal, Ryan. I drafted agreements like that for other people. Another silence. Longer this time. Then, okay. Double quotes, just that. Okay. And honestly, that one word, that quiet, immediate okay, was the moment I knew I'd won. Not a courtroom victory, not a public humiliation, just a man who had underestimated me for 14 months realizing, all at once, that he shouldn't have. Here's what happened to Ryan. He moved out within the week. The divorce was final in 4 months, one of the cleanest my lawyer said she'd processed in years. The loan repayments started the following month, structured and on time. And Dana thought she was getting a free man. What she actually got was a man who was financially constrained, legally obligated, running a business he could barely keep afloat. And this is the part she didn't anticipate. Still, completely ashamed, there was no grand romance. There was just the mess he'd made, with her in it now. I found that out through a mutual friend about 5 months later. Ryan and Dana had fallen apart. Apparently, real life looks very different from a hotel room in Denver. You know where I was when I got that text. Sitting at a little cafe in Lisbon, Portugal. Solo trip. Good wine, warm sun, absolutely nobody waiting for me to come home and perform fine. My friend texted, "Did you hear about Ryan and Dee?" I read it. Set my phone face down on the table, picked up my glass. Texted back one word. Noted. I came into my marriage believing that love was what you protected most. I came out of it knowing that yourself is what you protect first. 18 years, 2 kids, a house and a life we built together. And in the end it came down to 2 words on a screen on a Tuesday night, and one woman who decided not to panic. If you've ever sat across from someone who was lying to your face and had to smile like you didn't know, you know exactly what those 11 days felt like. And if you're in that room right now, don't move yet. Build your file, then move. I'm Sarah. This is my story, Broken Vows. If this helped you feel less alone, I'd love it if you subscribed. There are more stories in the playlist. And if you've got one of your own, the comments are open. You're not the only one.